What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Batman Knightfall, but now we have reached a point where Batman is no longer, well, Batman. You see, in our last video, we saw Bane being able to break the back of the Batman. And so now Bruce Wayne is out of commission. Now, before we are able to see John Paul take up the mantle as Batman, we do get this flashback story where we see that Batman had apparently fought against Two-Face in the middle of Knightfall. It's just that we weren't told about it until now. And so we're going to cover two issues that basically tell us how Batman was able to go up against Two-Face and how he won against him in the middle of Knightfall. Now, the first chapter we have to talk about takes place in Showcase 93, issue number 7. Now, the opening pages does take place in the present day where we see Alfred, Tim Drake, and also John Paul Valley watching over Batman, wondering if the man is going to be able to recover from his recent injuries thanks to Bane. Now, they gave him some medicine, but right now their main goal is to see if Bruce is able to wake up after getting his butt kicked by Bane. Now, this is where you have Tim Drake begin to blame himself for what happened apparently 3 weeks earlier involving Two-Face. Now, before we dive deeper to that right there, I do want to explain the whole point of Knightfall. You see, when it came to Bruce Wayne, this man was completely and mentally drained even before Knightfall had truly kicked off. And the reason why? Because Bruce Wayne was not getting the proper rest he needed to make sure that he could be a good Batman at night. And so by the time you have Bane go ahead to Arkham Asylum to release all the inmates, it made things even worse. So by the time Batman was confronted by Bane, he was most definitely drained mentally and physically trying to go up against Bane, making himself an easy opponent for Bane to take out. And so for Tim Drake, he's saying, I should have realized 3 weeks ago before Bane had broke the bat that Batman should have been stopped. But the problem was I didn't stop him. And I realized after we had taken down Two-Face is when I should have stopped him. And so now we go back in the past to explain what happened with Two-Face. Now, we do jump into the past where we actually pick up with Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, heading over to the old courthouse of Gotham City. Now, when it comes to the courthouse, this was where Harvey Dent was turned into Two-Face. It was a big moment. But here's the thing. For Harvey Dent turning into Two-Face, it is important. But what really is more important is the idea that Harvey Dent feels like Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, had betrayed him. You see, in the early days of Bruce being Batman, he had worked very close to Harvey Dent, who was a district attorney for Gotham City. But here's the problem though, guys. You see, when it came to Harvey, he just went too far for Batman to allow the idea of them two working together. And so for Bruce, he backed away. He said, listen, man, I can no longer work with you. And so for Harvey, he feels like Batman had betrayed him because in the early days of Bruce Wayne being Batman, him, Jim Gordon, and Harvey Dent, they made a pact together to work together to bring justice to Gotham City. But because Batman stepped away, it's Harvey saying, it's time for me to get revenge for the man who could be the reason why I fell down in my career, but also became Two-Face. Now, before Two-Face is able to go after Batman, Two-Face needs a gang of enforcers to kind of help out with the plan he has against the Bat. Now, here's the thing. You see, with Two-Face, he does head over to a crime lord's office, a guy known as Legs Lyman. Now, when it comes to Two-Face, he does have some information that he can use to blackmail Legs to make Legs go ahead and hand over his entire gang to Two-Face. Now, at first, it does look like Legs will go ahead and hand over the entire gang to Two-Face. But then he said, never mind, I'm not going to do that at all. Now for Two-Face, he kind of knew that Legs would not do that. And so he shot and killed Legs right in his office. Now, there were some members to Legs' gang there, and they're kind of like, yo, what in the world did you just do to our boss? We gotta take you out. Except Two-Face also brought a grenade with him, saying, yeah, you know what? Come at me. But if you do, we are all going to blow up. And so because of that right there, you then have the gang say, you know what, fine, you're our new boss. What do you need us to do? Now, before Two-Face is able to go after Batman, well, he wants Batman to know that sooner or later, those two guys are going to meet. And so you had Two-Face tell his guys to take the dead body of their old boss and put it inside the body of a dinosaur skeleton. And here is the reason why. Because when Jim and Batman arrive at the scene, they find a skeleton and they find the dead body inside of it. And for Batman and Jim, they have no idea who did this. Now, when it comes to Batman, when he does try to study the dinosaur, he is then informed that this dinosaur has two different names. And the reason why, because at first, scientists believed it was a different kind of dinosaur. But recent studies were done to say that this dinosaur is actually another kind of dinosaur. And so because of that, is Batman saying, if this dino has two different names, then most likely this is Two-Face. Now, before you have Batman go after Two-Face, we do get another scene where you have Robin and you also have Alfred telling Batman, hey, stop, rest. You know, you already took down the rest of the inmates who had escaped from Arkham Asylum. Why not let the police handle Two-Face? Like, this is someone most likely they can handle. But for Batman, it's a huge no. That for him, it has to be him to take down Two-Face. Now for Robin, he does bring up the fact that Batman is just too exhausted to go after Two-Face. But once again, Batman is not trying to listen. And so you have Batman say, stop, I'm leaving, I'm gonna find Two-Face, and no, you may not come with me at all. Now, Batman was able to figure out if Two-Face was able to take out Legs' lineman, most likely Two-Face has now taken over Legs' territory, including the enforcers as well. And so you have Batman go to a bar that used to be owned by Legs to ask the bartender, where can he find Two-Face? Now, at first, the bartender is not trying to tell Batman anything at all when it comes to finding Two-Face. And so it leads into our usual thing where you have Batman beat down on a few gang members, including the bartender, to get the info he wants to be able to locate Two-Face. And so you have Batman leave to head over there. But here's the problem. You see, Two-Face wanted Batman to know where he was at, which again is the old courthouse, but there's only one way to get over to the old courthouse, and you have to go over a bridge to get over to it. And so while you have Batman heading over there in his vehicle, well, that is when you have some gang members who are now working for Two-Face blow a hole in the bridge, right when Batman is about to pass over that certain part. And so when that hole is made, Batman falls through the hole into the river of Gotham City. And so then diving into the second chapter of this book, Showcase 93, issue number 8, we do see Batman fall into the river where he is able to get out of his vehicle. But here's the problem though. You see, you then have two henchmen trying to fish Batman out of the river to then take him over to Two-Face. Now, you do have Batman trying his best to fight against him, but the problem is Batman is just too weak to fight back, and so he is easily knocked out from behind and now will be transported over to Two-Face to be put on trial for the crimes that he has supposedly committed. Now, I want to jump over to Robin and Alfred. Now, those two characters, they have no idea that technically Batman has been captured by Two-Face. And so right now, is Robin believing that his main goal is to still look for any kind of information that might help Batman locate Two-Face, not knowing that Two-Face already got Batman. Now, while you have Robin doing that, he was able to learn that Two-Face was abused as a young child by his father. And apparently that abusiveness kind of brought out a darker side in a Two-Face. But Harvey Dent was able to lock away that darker side until he became a district attorney. And so for Robin, he believes that that darker side we see right now in him being Two-Face was always around, way back then when he was being abused by his father. But now we get to the point where we actually see Two-Face putting Batman on this supposed trial for the crimes that he had supposedly committed. Now we already know that for Batman, he didn't do nothing wrong, but for Two-Face, he did, because Batman betrayed Two-Face. Batman broke the pact. And so you had Two-Face ask Batman, like, hey, why did you no longer wanted to help me? Now, before we get that answer, there's something else I do want to mention. You see, for Robin, he feels like he has no idea how to find Two-Face while sitting in the Batcave. And so he believes his best option is to, well, use Alfred to go around at different locations that Two-Face used to use. Now, while you have those two characters doing that, you didn't have Alfred realize that the best option for them to check out would be the old courthouse, where everything fell apart for Two-Face. And so as we do transition back over to Batman and Two-Face, you have Batman tell Two-Face, or tell Harvey, the reason why I had to step away is because I realized that your obsession with the idea of trying to bring justice into Gotham was driving you insane, to the point where it began to take over different parts of your life. And that was a huge problem for me. And here's the thing, I began to lose confidence in you. And so I realized I had to step away because I felt like your obsession was going to lead you down a dark path, which technically it did. Now, yes, it was not Harvey's fault that he was turned into Two-Face, but at the same time, that obsession did get out of control. Now, this is Harvey Dent not really trying to take any accountability for his action. Now, at the same time, you could also say that it's Batman also not taking any accountability for his actions as well. But either way, you have Two-Face say, Batman, you're guilty. And so because you're guilty, you gotta die. Now, right when you have Two-Face try to shoot Batman, Batman is able to dodge the first bullet and break out of the chair that he was tied to. But Two-Face got another gun, and so he's all like, okay, cool, you dodge one shot, but can you dodge another? And that is when you have Robin arrive, just in time to save Batman's butt. Now, you do have Batman and Robin being able to work together, where you have Robin take down the goons that was working for Two-Face while Batman went after Two-Face, who is trying to get away. Now, for Batman and Two-Face, they do fight in a incomplete building that's still being built up at the moment. And so while you had these two characters fighting against each other, it does get to the point where it does seem like Two-Face or Batman are going to fall, or really both of them are going to fall. Now, it does get to the point where Batman was technically able to get Two-Face back up, but now Batman is hanging for his life. And so you have Two-Face trying to kill off Batman by trying to have Batman let go and fall to his death. But that is when you have Robin appear once again, to this time knock out Two-Face in the back of the head. Now, Two-Face does fall over and Batman is able to grab Harvey and they are able to swing into a safer area. But after that, you didn't have Batman get onto Robin, because the Batman, he says, Robin, what you did was reckless. You had no idea if I had the ability to actually save Two-Face after he had fell over. What if I was not able to save him? He would have fallen to his death and died. That would be on you. Now for Robin, he says, but hold on though. How'd I know if you had your grapple gun or not? Like, for me personally, I believed that I made the right move, because if I had not made that move, you would have fallen to your death. Because again, I had no idea if you had your gun to swing into a safer area. That right there is really important. But for Batman, he's not listening. He does not care. And so he continues to just go off on Robin. And then he walks away to go after different people who are still out there who had escaped from Arkham Asylum. And that is the moment there where Robin felt like he should have stopped Batman, because he realized Batman could no longer go on when it came to fighting against all his different enemies. But as we jump back to the present day, you didn't have Batman wake up finally to tell Robin like, no, you did not make the wrong move. What you did was actually correct, because if you had not moved in, I could have possibly died that day. And so it's a way to say, hey, Robin, I was wrong. Please forgive me, because honestly, I was too hard on you. And so we're able to see the two characters being able to rebuild their bond with one another. Now, I'm going to cover one more chapter for today's video. So we're going to jump over to Batman number 498, where we actually do pick up with Bruce Wayne now awake and talking to both Alfred and Robin. But this is a Bruce Wayne who knows that he has been defeated by Bane. Like, he cannot go on anymore. And now we jump over to Bane. And when we do, we see Bane going ahead with his game plan, being able to take over Gotham City. Now, he does go after one gang, and once he's able to get rid of their leader, he tells the rest of the gang like, hey, you guys now work for me, but our goal right now is to take out the other gangs. Now, at first, they're very confused on what Bane is trying to do here, because they believe that Bane just want to go ahead and get rid of the other gangs because he's afraid of losing his territory. But this is Bane saying, no, I'm not afraid of losing my territory. I want to take over Gotham completely. And so to do that, we got to take out the other gangs. So you guys are going to work for me to help me take them out, because Gotham is now mine. But while you have Bane out there just causing havoc across Gotham City, you didn't have Robin and Alfred both realize that Batman needs a doctor. But the thing is, they can't take him to a hospital. Now, luckily for Tim Drake, he knows a doctor, and that would be Sandra Kinsolving. Now, when it comes to Sandra, we had talked about her before. You see, she was a doctor for Tim Drake's father, a physical therapist. And so now it's Alfred and Tim both believing that she has the ability to help Bruce recover, but to make sure he has the willpower to want to actually recover. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to Sandra, she was already his doctor in the earlier parts of Knightfall, because he had a hard time getting a proper night of rest, and he had no idea why. And so he brought her in hoping they could work together to figure out why he was unable to take a proper rest. And so she knows Bruce very well. But here's the thing. By this point, Sandra has already gained feelings for Bruce Wayne. She wants to be with him, like, you know, in a romantic kind of way. Now, for Alfred and Tim, they know that they call Sandra, they're gonna need a cover story, and they're gonna say that Bruce got in a very serious car accident, that the car actually went off a cliff and did some serious damage. Now, Bruce was able to get out of the car before it went off the cliff, but that kind of story should work when it comes to bringing in Sandra to have her help Bruce recover in the proper way. Now, you do have Sandra arrive, except when she does arrive, this is Sandra saying like, hey, you know, this man has some very severe injuries. Like, he needs some good doctors and an actual good medical equipment to actually help him recover. Now, for Alfred, it's kind of like, you're a doctor, so there we go. And two, I already called up Lucius Fox, so I was able to grab some medical equipment that you can use to help Bruce Wayne recover. Now, for Sandra, she's very quick on realizing that Bruce Wayne injuries do not line up with the story that Alfred was telling her. It's all like, yes, you may tell me that this man's car went off a cliff, that this man was able to jump out of the car before it went off the cliff. But the problem is his injuries don't line up with that story. But at the same time, for Sandra, she does not care. I mean, yes, she does care, but for her, it's kind of like, listen, Bruce Wayne is a mystery that needs to be solved. And I love the idea of trying to solve different kinds of mysteries. So I'm going to stick around to help Bruce recover, but at the same time hoping to figure out who this man truly is. Because like I said, this is someone who does have feelings for Bruce Wayne and was hoping to actually be with him. Now, after you have Sandra leave, you have Robin go over to Bruce Wayne and say, hey man, listen, when it comes to Gotham, it's complete chaos right there. Like right now, the city needs a Batman. And the thing is, you can't be Batman. And Bruce Wayne, he actually agrees. But the problem is, who can be Batman? So at first, for Tim Drake, is all like, hey, let's call up Dick Grayson, Nightwing. He can be Batman. But the problem is, around his time in DC Comics, Dick and Bruce were not really on good terms. And for Bruce Wayne, Dick is right now his own man, away from the Bat family, which means he can't be Batman, which only leaves one more person left who could become Batman, and that would be John Paul Valley. Now for Bruce, he feels like this is okay, but he wants to make sure that Robin understands that John Paul Valley will not go after Bane at all. Bane is for Bruce to handle down the road. And so you have Tim leave to go meet up with John Paul Valley. Now, I want to jump over to Selina Kyle. And the reason why, because she was contacted by Bane, and Bane wanted her to actually, work for him in his brand new empire. He wants her to go out of her way to steal different kinds of items, but to also steal info that he can use down the road. And really for him, the info is more important than items that she steals. Now, for Selina, she does agree to work with him, but not for him. It's her saying, yeah, I will help you out. I'll be your partner, but in no way I actually work for you. And so she walks away. The last couple pages, we actually do see Batman and Robin, really John Paul Batman, being able to head over to the GCPD to meet Jim Gordon as the new Batman for the time being. Now, before we are actually able to see more of that conversation, we jump back over to Bruce Wayne. And Bruce kind of wonders that, maybe he should be with Sandra Kinsolving, but also maybe he should tell her his actual true identity, the idea that he is Batman. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.